This episode of In the Trenches is brought to you by Wholesale Final Expense Leads. If you are a life insurance agent and you need people to see and you want to raise your activity level, go to wholesalefinalexpenseleads.com and place your order today. Leads are available 24/7. Hi, Chase here, Cole McCoy coming to you with another episode of In the Trenches, episode 44. It's been a while. We haven't been around in a while. Took a little bit of a break for good reason. We've been in full-on growth mode, Cole, blowing it up. You've been beating the streets. You've been all over the United States, man. Everybody else shutting down shop, figuring out what they're going to do. You're just out there hitting it and getting it, man. Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to.
Dude, it's been nuts, man. We were obviously in Ohio. We're selling in Tennessee. We're doing stuff in Utah. It's been crazy, but it's been great. So many people that are raising their hands that are looking for what we have to offer. So it's there for the ones that want it. I'll tell you that, man. And it's not going to end anytime soon. We're just getting charged back up to go back out and hit it again and back them.
A lot of people trying to figure out what's going on during this time. Like they're trying to figure out, are we shutting down shop or, should I go out and do this and that? We grew, and we talked about this internally as a team this morning. First quarter, over 25% growth. That's kind of our goal. Do we want to grow? What rate do we want to grow out? And 25% has been our number. And we've hit that quarter one, quarter two. And quarter two was a big one because so many people there was a lot of uncertainty. A lot of people jumped ship, went to telesales. A lot of people didn't know what they were going to do. The leadership team here, it was just, we're marching forward. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to have a diversified approach. And we not only grew 25%, we blew that out of the water. Huge quarter last quarter. And you guys were a big part of that on the road out seeing people. So we talked about in preparation leading up to this podcast as we wanted to bring it back with our focus being 100% over the past couple of months on just growth, making sure we're loving on everybody, the training, the service, the support, making sure everything was ready to go because it's really unprecedented times. We wanted to come back on this episode, but perfect timing now, not letting the foot off the gas, but with a message that's really kind of come through to all of us here of what do I do? How do I do it? And you had kind of come up last night. We were talking about it. I'm telling my guys, let's just get back to basics. What makes us good at what we do. So we're fired up about just talking about getting back to basics.
Yep, absolutely, man. There's not a magic pill to what we're doing. It's not this big, complicated vortex of mystery. It's buy leads and it's go to work. If you want to make it simple, and obviously having a system helps. Having people to help hold you accountable, help you get better is always good. But if you're just figuring out how to get in front of people, you're on the right track. Maybe you need a tweak here and there, but it's not complicated. And now more than ever is a time where we get to go in and fight for our clients to make sure that they're taken care of. As things are getting more and more complicated, it would seem, for me, they just got more simple because I just knew I was going to double down and go to work and show people how to go to work. Yeah. Leaving sometimes at 6 or 7 in the morning, getting back at midnight, and just showing like, hey, the money's there if you want it, and the clients are there if you want them, if you're willing to go and get them. So it's never been truer than it is right now, Chase. And pandemic or epidemic or I always joke. There's always a solution if you're willing to find one, and there's always an excuse if you're willing to make one. And we're just refusing to make excuses right now. That's all it is.
Absolutely. And so you touched on something. We're going to run the gambit today, but we're not going to go through every single item that we're teaching right now and we're going through as a leadership team to all the people we work with. We're going to go through just a few key points for you guys that hopefully can help you if you're kind of in that I don't know, that fog of uncertainty and what do I do? Or just more importantly, like Cole and I talked about last night, you're not hitting your numbers. Maybe you're out there doing it. Maybe you're making some money. You're doing all right. but you're not growing. And so we want to share with you what we're doing here to grow, and just a couple of key points, and we may have to turn this into a part 2. I would love for us to rope Mr. Ben Bowman into the next episode with us. That would be a lot of fun. Long overdue, so we'll see if we can get him to not be camera shy with us. But starting at the top and kind of trickling all the way down throughout the leadership team here, it's number one, the one thing that you need to focus on is what you can control. And one thing that we can definitely control is activity. Where a lot of people shut down shop. They said, I'm just going to do this, I'm going to do that during whatever time. The big thing is activity you can control, and that's within your grasp of controlling. Making sure that activity pipeline, that lead pipeline is always full. That's something you've been talking a lot about with your group, and obviously the showed last month the way you guys finished. Let's start off with activity. It's in your grasp of control. How do we go about making sure we're maximizing our time out in the field by having that activity at an all-time high?
Yeah, I mean, seriously, man, this is so simple. We had someone on a podcast a little while back, and it was the simplest message: just go to work. If you're willing to travel, if you're willing to go get in front of people, there's no shortage of leads. There's no shortage of people raising their hand, wanting the information. Maybe you can't afford leads right now. Well, if under the right circumstances, maybe there are people that are willing to help you pay for them. Insert Chase, maybe telling people about the free lead program. But there are so many different solutions to your problem of activity. But it just starts with you looking in the mirror and being honest with yourself. Are you giving it everything you've got? If you're getting out of the business, did you honestly put in a full work week, not like an 80-hour week? Did you honestly go and work in the field 40 hours a week? And a vast majority of the time, that just didn't happen. And for those that are failing and not able to pay their bills and having to get out of the business because they failed, those are the people that got told no a couple times, and they're dreading knocking on that next door. And then that next door that they're waiting on knocking on, it turns into them playing Candy Crush on their phone for 2 hours, or reading the news, or freaking out because Kanye West is running for president or whatever. It's still surreal. I love that that's happening, by the way. But what a country we live in. But those are the people that are saying, "Oh, the leads don't work." But you could give me that same pack of leads that you went and barely worked them, and I guarantee you, I'll go make money on them every time. So again, that's just the small difference between the agent that's willing to make an excuse as to why they failed versus the agent that's willing to create results and come up with solutions. It's work ethic is the biggest part of it. It's not hard. But are you willing to be transparent about your situation and be honest with yourself and the people around you? That are you actually putting in the work to make this happen? And if you're failing, there are some cases where people fail and they're not cut out and they're working hard. They just might not be a good fit. But if you've had success in the past and all of a sudden you're failing, that's probably a great place to start. Am I actually putting in the work? So.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer, and I know we've all talked about this, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, really. Like, at the end of the day, your activity level is 100%. I said it before, I'll be redundant. It's in your control. It's something you can control. A lot of the people we talk to that are looking for a change of scenery, they're looking for a new opportunity, most of the reason why they're failing is not because of commission level. You're not going to fail because of commission level. You're just not going to make as much as you and earn as much as you possibly could. But you can still be successful and earn a great living, even on a commission level. It's not something like we would offer, at a higher level or something like that. But it all comes down to activity. Do you have someone to see? Do you have a place to go? Do you have someone to sell? And you mentioned this and alluded to it a moment ago. During the pandemic, people are going in the opposite direction of the client. The client is filling more cards out, requesting more information than ever. I will tell you this. We see the data. We work with premier lead vendors, and they'll tell you we have seen an influx in activity. More people since this pandemic are wanting information on getting covered. The need is there. It's staring them right in the face that I need to get something covered more than it ever has been. So for you have more people right now than ever that want this information. The need's there. We need to want it. So regardless of what you may believe, there were some big numbers hit last month. I mean, there were some huge records broken last month. So for people that are, having the misconception that, I'm just going to wait this out. Don't wait. You need to strike while the iron is hot. There are people that need your help today. So how do I get involved? How can I up my activity? Number one, find a lead program. You mentioned it also just a second ago, Cole. We have 3 different platforms for you. And this isn't a recruiting pitch, but if you're out there right now and saying, I don't have money, but I know how to do this, I can do it at a high level, I'm hurting right now, I can't do it. You need to call us. We've got a free lead program. And that free lead program is just that. It's a free lead program. Our compensation on that free lead program, higher than almost, I'd stack it up against anybody. I believe it is the highest in the industry. If you're somebody who needs some help with your leads, you got a little bit of funds, but you need some help subsidizing it, we've got a program for that too. Or if you're somebody that just needs big comp, you want leads, I need to go get it, and your big pain point is I just can't get enough of them. I know how to do it. I can pay for them. I just can't get them. Call us. Let's talk, because we've got that platform. 3 different ways to help you get up and running. And I can promise you, and I don't say this to be boastful, but our issue is not getting people consistent lead flow. That's not a problem. It's having enough people to go work the leads and take up, arms in terms of the demand that's out there. So you're seeing an increase in clientele who want someone to come help them. If you're out there right now and you're just saying, man, I'd love to get involved. As Cole mentioned, if you can go to work, if you're willing to work, you're trainable, you're coachable, we'll show you how to do it. And so activity level is something that you can control. But if you think it's just going to, a sale is just going to fall out of the sky and say, hey, come get me, not going to happen. You have to make sure that your marketing platform, your pipeline is built. And don't overcomplicate it. Don't get roped into spending a bunch of money on ClickFunnels and I'm going to do my own leads. Find a system that is consistent, it's proven. Get yourself financially right, and then you can start tinkering with things a little bit. But go with where the proof is in the pudding and that the basics are already laid out, the foundation is there for you, and find a program that works. We also talked about something that you have found working with your group, training new producers that had a great month last month, and they're really starting to flourish. We're starting to see internally as an organization some new producers that had no experience really start to blossom. We had an agent last month, fairly new to the business, over 46,000 in straight FE sales. Been doing it less than 6 months. That's powerful, unbelievable actually. And that's actually starting to become the norm in terms of new producers taking their claim on the leaderboard. So we talk about where we put our focus. As a new producer, as a current producer, we need to kind of curb our mind to be on, what am I focusing on? Am I paying attention to things? You mentioned it. We've heard Ben talk about it on morning calls over and over. And for some reason, it doesn't sink in with some people. But where is my attention? Where is my energy? Where is my focus? You coach on that and you preach on that a lot with your guys. To spit it at us just a little bit in terms of the importance of where our focus is at day to day.
Yeah, man. I don't know how to say this without it sounding interesting, but you can't focus on results. I mean, results are a byproduct of how well you're doing what you're asked to do or told to do, but you have to be married to the process, meaning you have to be obsessed with the things you can control. You can control your activity or your effort, how hard you're working. You can control your attitude in the midst of those circumstances. Everything else, you don't know when that yes is coming. You don't know if the person on the other side of the door is going to be mad or sad or angry or happy, or you don't know. And so you have to be married to the process and obsessed and even selfish towards, I have to get X number of sits a week. If I'm buying 20 leads a week, I have to get in front of 12 people. Have to. And the results speak for themselves. They should. Now, there should be a process as far as how you're saying things and what you're saying and the order you're saying them in, and all those things can get better. And obviously it's great, but if you're not hitting your numbers, you're probably not getting in front of enough people. So I always look at that. You want to look about 60% of the leads you buy, you should be sitting in front of face to face. So 20 leads, you're looking at 12. 25, you're looking at 15. 30 leads, you should be looking about 18 people to go and you're physically sitting down with them. Now, you're not going to get all those people by appointment. You're going to have to door knock some of those people. But if you're actually going to work, you should be sitting down with this number of people. This is not hard. It's not a hard concept, but you have to be willing to do it. On top of that, once you're obsessed enough with your activity to go and actually do it, once you get to that point, now we can actually go and get better at the sales process. But sales process doesn't matter if you're not willing to work hard. And so you go get in front of those people, and ideally you have someone that will allow you to record what you're saying and send it to an upline, so that way they can critique you. Hopefully you have a system where you know exactly what to say and when to say it and how to say it and why it's important. That's all the stuff that you can improve on. And you have to be obsessed with having a system to where in your delivery, in the words that you're saying, you're almost robotic. There's still something to be said for empathy and actually hearing people and responding accordingly. But the setup should be the same to where you're actually setting yourself up for those conversations to happen, to actually be able to help people. And there's just not enough talk about keeping it simple. Get in front of people, record yourself, and get a little bit better each day. But people are so afraid of not being the best that they just don't try. Or they're so afraid of admitting failure or having someone else tell them they're failing that they're not willing to hold themselves accountable to even get to that place of vulnerability and transparency to say, hey, I need some help. I'm all ears. Shoot me straight. Tell me like it is. What do I need? What am I missing? What are the things that I'm lacking right now to do this well? For some people, you can't work close to home, right? You need to go work 3 hours away because you can't just go home after a bad day or a good day. For some people, they're too passive. They're getting a lot of people say, hey, hand me your card and I'll get back to you. And they let them, the clients push them around. They're not taking control, and they're just sitting there. Hey, do you want this insurance? It's no. Which option works best for you? Everybody's different, but you have to be honest. And we talked about this on our national call on Monday. But you have to be willing to put yourself in that position to be vulnerable enough to let someone actually speak into your life and into your business to say, hey, here's what you're doing well. Here's what you're not doing well. Here's the things I see that we can fix. And here are the consequences of doing this way. The path you're going down ultimately leads to the death of your business. And we're not willing to have those conversations. If you have an honest upline, if you have an honest person that's willing to speak into your business, that should be the conversation you want to have, because those are the conversations that will 100% make more money. The people that are speaking into your life, they only make money if you sell policies. So why on earth are we not taking advantage of that?
It's a huge point, man. I love that one because it goes back to the being coachable. If you come into this business and you haven't achieved this massive level of success, you need to be a big piece of clay and just let that person, which also goes back to the importance of having an upline or somebody in the business that can mentor you because they've done it before. Just be moldable and understand that I'm going to get beat up. I'm going to get punched in the nose a little bit sometimes by my clients and just by the day. Like you said, just be coachable and roll with the information that they give you, because it's beneficial to you and beneficial to them. They're not saying it just to say it. They don't get paid until you get paid. So they have a vested interest in you being successful. I love that point that you made, because so many really good people, you and I've had this conversation. We've worked with some people that we really, really like. We really thought they were awesome people, and they are, but we thought that they were going to be able to make it, but they just wouldn't stay on that track, that path that is built, and it's built for success because we've seen it, and they deviate. And I'm, instead of direct mail leads, I'm going to go try these telemarketing leads. This guy on LinkedIn messaged me. I'm going to go try these. They're a little bit cheaper. And then, man, a month later, you just never hear from them again. Or they don't have any, there's no money coming in. They deviate from a winning strategy to go with something that's, if it's a little bit easier. And I was always raised, one of my coaches in high school told me, if it's easy, it ain't right. And, growth is going to be painful. Like if you're one of those guys that works out all the time, you're always aching, you're always painful because that muscle's tearing, you're always working up. It's painful, but it's progress. And for those that are listening in right now, man, what Cole just said, rewind it. Go back and listen to that again. Careful who you let in your head. We've talked about that before, but man, if you got a good one and the proof is in the pudding, listen to that person. Take what they tell you as the gospel, because they're going to lead you to the right place. I promise you. You also made another point, Cole, that I want to throw out there that I just really want to highlight. I want to shed some light on. If you don't have a daily, weekly schedule and regimen, you're going to be all over the place. You're going to be kind of scatter shooting on a regular basis, and then down the road, eventually you're going to find it. Help yourself now. And I think Ben even talked about it this morning on the call. Come up with a schedule. Bite-sized chunks. Don't try and take everything all at once, but have a schedule. Have a routine where I'm calling on Monday and I'm booking for Tuesday and Wednesday, whatever it may be. Have your set schedule. Don't go out there and just willy-nilly it. Just have that set schedule. Have your routine. If you wake up every morning, you're on a call that your team has, what am I doing after that call? Have everything planned out and be ready to rock and roll. That organization will provide you with confidence and comfort because you know where you're going. And that's going to help. No different than, if you own a storefront and you know that truck's going to be there to drop off the milk every Tuesday, that's the day they deliver. You're not going to freak out if you're running low on milk on Friday, on Saturday or on Sunday, because that truck's going to be there on Tuesday. That delivery is going to be there on time. So let's move on to our next point, our last point, because we only wanted to give 3 today. The third point that we talked about is their system. And this kind of goes to the point I was just touching on, and we're going to really expand on this. What is your system? Do you have a method to your madness? Having somebody like you, having somebody like a Roger, a Ben, a whoever, that's one of the first things you guys work on is teaching, having that organization, that system. Let's talk a little bit about that. How do you go about, constructing that out with a new producer or a current producer that's looking to raise their game and find consistent sales? Where's your starting point with that? What do you go over with them?
Yeah, I like to give a roadmap of what it actually looks like. So for instance, I like to break it down, and here is what a successful week should look like. Everybody's different. If you want to be in the field Monday, Thursday, Friday, okay, well, here's a plan to go over that. Okay, if you want to be in the field Tuesday, Wednesday, and do an office day Thursday, and then go in the field again Friday, Saturday. That's kind of how I used to. Whatever that is, okay, let's create a roadmap. Here's what every single day looks like for you. I think I have ideal ways of doing it. I won't get into the semantics of that, but as long as you have that in place, that's great. I actually want to talk a little bit more about your system for when you're actually in the house. What are you saying here? I like to look at bullet points. When I got into the business, I had to learn a 7-page script, word for word, with proper punctuation and saying things the right way. You pause here, you don't pause there. You assume, you don't ask yes, no questions. Even to the point of like building rapport, we had to learn about. So that I know that I know can be difficult to do. But if you can learn an actual word for word thing, that only benefits you. But I also like to give a roadmap of the presentation. So we have the warm up and rapport. We have the why did you fill this card out? 3 reasons, whatever you want to call it. Then you explain the difference between an agent and a broker. Then you get them to talk about if they've ever had to deal with a funeral. Empathize, talk to them, and then they're naming the person who's going to handle their funeral. You have to do all that super well, and you have to know exactly where you're going, what you're saying, how you're saying it, how you respond. It all has to be, I hate to say this, but robotic. You have to do things a certain way. And before you try and do things your own way, let the proven people show you how to do that. And then from there, there's but you get the point. It's just bullet point after bullet point. If here's what I say next, here's what to do next. And until someone has that down, and if you're able to make $20,000 a month, then that's something that we won't harp on as much. You probably have a pretty good system down. But as far as the system goes, you need someone that's willing to constantly critique, listen to recordings, get in the car with you, listen to you do presentations. That's how you perfect that stuff. I mean, very few people can record themselves, listen to it, diagnose it. I mean, I would say 1 in 1,000 can actually make themselves better without getting any kind of system from anybody. Those are the people that are they're going to figure it out no matter what. But for the vast majority of folks, they need a direction. They need to know exactly when they're going to say certain things and how they're going to say it, even to the point of once you make a sale, how does the exit strategy work for that client? Sending them thank you cards, following up periodically, taking care of your people so they stay on the books. You have to know exactly what you're doing before you do it, as you're doing it, after you're doing it, and you just do it over and over and over and over again. It sounds boring. It sounds repetitive. It sounds like drudgery. But I promise you, when you're getting, 4-figure deposits every single day from the business that you wrote a week ago, 2 weeks ago, now you're 12 months in and you have back end money coming in, and then then you get your renewal phase, and it's just like every day you get a deposit in your account. That's from following the system. That's from being coachable and going word for word what you're told to do. So I guess I'll get off my soapbox here, but it's not difficult to understand how this works. But putting it in perspective, if you're not getting those types of deposits, every business day, then there's something that you are missing. So if you break down 52 weeks by five business days every week, essentially, maybe take off another 15 business days for holidays and things. So you're looking at, I'm going to get a calculator out here. So 200 and so 52 times 5, 260 days, take off 15 days. So if you're not getting 245 days worth of deposit, where you get a deposit every single day, and ideally, if you can get $1,000 on average every single day, then you probably need help with a system, unless you're just not going to work full time. And some people do this part time, whatever. That's fine. We're not talking about that. The people that want to make a living full time, because you have to have those kind of deposits coming in, because now you're paying your lead bill. You're paying for your gas. You're paying for all these business expenses, and to make 6 figures pure profit, you need those kind of deposits coming in. That only comes from following a system. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents on that, man. I just think that's so important for people to put that in perspective. It's super simple, but implementation and follow through is I feel like what most people are struggling with. So.
Yeah, we could sit and talk about work ethic and following the system all day long. You got to have a system. Lean on that person that's your mentor. They can help you develop it. But you can also just keep it as simple as, what are my key areas of focus? Number one, my leads, which are my activity. I need to make sure I'm organized. I'm ready to go. I'm not going to let paralysis by analysis take place. But my daily activity. I do give Ben a tremendous amount of credit here, because he talks about this, and it's something I've taken from him. Even after being around for 13 years, I do take away one thing from Ben that is so important. We look at things on such a large scale sometimes that it can be a little overwhelming. I will tell you and challenge you to chop the tree, use the metaphor of chopping the tree, which means every day take your swing, take your hack. And eventually, a bit by bit over time, that tree is going to be cut enough to where it's going to fall. And the fall is going to be your success. You're going to find that chopping of the tree, you're going to gain experience. Chopping of the trees, going out every day, putting all these things that you hear about into practice. It's not going to go perfect. It's not going to be great, like Cole said. You're going to have to gain some experience, get your nose blooded up a little bit. But chop that tree every day. Take your hack. And then as time moves on, that 6-month mark, you're going to look back and say, man, I can't believe I didn't know how to do that. I'm killing it now doing this. And then 6 more months is going to roll by, and you're going to say, man, I'm doing so much better at this than I was, 6 months ago, 12 months ago. As time moves on, these things that you continue to work on, that you continue to put into application, you're going to get better at it. 100% of the people are going to fail that never get started. But for you're somebody out there, even if it's keeping as simple as, I'm only going to roll out here with these 2 companies, these 2 products I'm a master. And then as you get more familiar with them, you understand the process, you know how they pay, you know how they go about doing things, then I'm going to incorporate a 3rd and then a 4th. Keep it simple, and then you're able to progress. You're able to expand your bandwidth a bit. And that's one thing that I've taken away from Ben that I really, really, you and I've talked about it a lot. Just don't overcomplicate it. Get started today. Take your swing, take your hack, chop that tree, and watch those daily wins, those daily victories start to really kind of overcome the fear of getting started that you had initially, and just watch them stack up. And then at the end of the day, end of the 12 months, when the years roll by, you're going to stack those chips and see where you fall. So, Cole, as always, man, I appreciate you. Episode 44 back at it, and we'll do it all over again next week.
All right, man.